What I need you to say is, I asked Damon questions about Jay-Z. Don't just put up Dame shits on Jay-Z or shits on them. You got to say, I asked this question and he answered it, but he did not just out the blue start talking about Jay.
In the world of hip-hop, few relationships have been as intertwined, complex, and controversial as the one between Dame Dash and Jay-Z. Together, they built one of the most influential empires in the music industry through the creation of Roc-A-Fella Records. But their journey from friends and business partners to bitter rivals is a story of tension, power struggles, and ultimately, betrayal. This story is not only one of business, but also of the personal sacrifices and growth that both men underwent. Dame Dash, who grew up in Harlem, and Jay-Z, born Sean Carter, had very different backgrounds, but their shared ambitions would bring them together and ultimately tear them apart. The birth of Roc-A-Fella Records. The partnership between Dame Dash and Jay-Z wasn't just a business arrangement. It was the culmination of shared experiences and hustles from their early lives. Dame Dash had always been a hustler, even from a young age. Born in Harlem, Dash quickly learned the ways of the street. While many people in his neighborhood were content with the status quo, Dash wasn't. He was always looking for ways to make money, whether it was selling products or taking up any odd job that could bring in cash. It was during his time in Harlem that he met Kareem Biggs Burke and Jay-Z. The three came together in the mid-90s to create a revolutionary independent record label, Roc-A-Fella Records. The idea was to break free from the constraints of major labels that often controlled and stifled the creativity of artists. Dame Dash and Jay-Z, both passionate about their craft, believed that they could create a platform where artists could thrive on their own terms. It was their shared vision that led to the creation of Roc-A-Fella Records in the early 1990s. Jay-Z, who was already showing promise as a rapper, became the star of the label, while Dame Dash took on the role of managing the business side. Biggs played a quieter, behind-the-scenes role, but was instrumental in the label's early success. Together, they created a formula that would change the music industry forever. The trio brought together the worlds of hip-hop and business, proving that artists didn't need to rely on the traditional, corporate-run systems that dominated the music industry at the time. Jay-Z's debut album, Reasonable Doubt, was the start of something big, but it wasn't an instant success. While the album was critically acclaimed, it didn't sell as well as expected. But Dame Dash believed in Jay-Z's talent. He pushed forward, securing a distribution deal for the label with Def Jam in 1997. This deal would turn out to be a pivotal moment, as it not only brought Roc-A-Fella the financial backing it needed, but also gave Jay-Z the platform to launch his career into the stratosphere. The success of Jay-Z's subsequent albums, such as In My Lifetime, Volume 1, Hard Knock Life, and Life and Times of S. Carter, elevated the label's status, making Roc-A-Fella synonymous with hip-hop excellence. Hits like Hard Knock Life and Big Pimpin' solidified Jay-Z's place in hip-hop history, and Dame Dash's strategic moves helped cement Roc-A-Fella's role as an industry leader. The rise of Roc-A-Fella and tensions begin to build. At the height of their success, the relationship between Dame Dash and Jay-Z was like a well-oiled machine. Dash was the aggressive hustler who was always in motion, while Jay-Z was the cerebral artist who had a more measured, calculated approach to business. Despite their differences, their complementary skills made them a powerhouse duo. However, as Roc-A-Fella grew, so did the tension between the two. Dame Dash was never one to shy away from controversy. His brash personality and no-nonsense approach to business made him a polarizing figure in the hip-hop world. While many respected his hustle and independent spirit, others found him difficult to work with. Dash's desire to maintain control over his label and his empire was evident, and he wasn't afraid to step on toes to make sure he stayed on top. Jay-Z, on the other hand, was more focused on building his own legacy. He started aligning himself with bigger corporate entities, recognizing the potential to expand his business interests outside of music. Jay-Z's shift in focus was partly due to his growing ambition. He was no longer just an artist, he had become a mogul in his own right. With the success of Roc-A-Fella, Jay-Z began to think bigger, expanding into fashion with his Roc-A-Wear brand and exploring ventures in the world of real estate, sports management, and tech. He wanted to build a lasting legacy, not just in music, but in the broader cultural landscape. Dame Dash, however, felt that Jay-Z was abandoning the independence that they had once cherished, opting instead for the corporate route that Dash had always shunned. While Jay-Z's business ventures flourished, Dame Dash remained steadfast in his belief that the true path to success lay in remaining independent, avoiding corporate control at all costs. For Dash, this represented not only a business philosophy, but also a way of life. He had grown up in a world where survival meant going against the grain, and he couldn't understand why Jay-Z would want to align himself with the very institutions that he had spent so much time fighting against. As Jay-Z continued to make moves that solidified his status as a mogul, Dame Dash grew increasingly frustrated with what he saw as a betrayal of their original vision. The two men, who had once shared a common goal, were now headed in different directions. Their differences in business approach led to growing tension and resentment. The tipping point came when Jay-Z began making moves behind Dash's back, causing a fracture in their once strong partnership. The betrayal and fallout. The fallout between Dame Dash and Jay-Z came to a head in the mid-2000s when Dash claimed that Jay-Z had undermined him in key business deals. One of the most notable instances was the sale of Roc-A-Wear, the fashion brand that had become a significant part of the Roc-A-Fella empire. Dash claimed that Jay-Z had made decisions regarding the brand's sale without consulting him, cutting him out of a deal that he felt entitled to. According to Dash, the deal devalued their intellectual property and ultimately hurt his financial interests. The tension between Dash and Jay-Z escalated when Dash became involved in a lawsuit over Roc-A-Fella's assets. Dash alleged that Jay-Z's lawyers had intentionally tried to devalue his stake in the label, a move that Dash believed was designed to prevent him from making significant profits. In particular, Dash claimed that Jay-Z sabotaged his chances of making money off of a potential sale of Roc-A-Wear to Tommy Hilfiger, a deal that could have netted him $40 million. Dash was furious that Jay-Z's actions seemed designed to hurt him financially. The betrayal didn't just extend to business. The personal rift between Dash and Jay-Z grew wider, with the two no longer speaking to each other. While Jay-Z's career continued to soar, Dash's empire began to crumble. He found himself locked in a bitter legal battle and facing accusations of mismanaging his finances. As Jay-Z's star continued to rise, Dash's once promising career seemed to fade into the background. The bitter rivalry between the two men was further fueled by public statements and interviews, with Dash openly accusing Jay-Z of betrayal, while Jay-Z largely remained silent, focusing on his own success. The legacy of Roc-A-Fella and the broken partnership. Today, Dame Dash and Jay-Z are both successful in their own right, but the legacy of their once powerful partnership has been forever altered by their falling out. Roc-A-Fella Records, the label they built together, no longer exists in the same form. Jay-Z has gone on to become one of the most influential figures in the entertainment industry, while Dame Dash continues to operate in the world of independent business, striving to maintain his autonomy. For Dame Dash, the split with Jay-Z remains a painful chapter in his life. He continues to speak candidly about the betrayal he feels, but he also acknowledges the lessons he learned from his time working with Jay-Z. Despite their differences, Dash has expressed admiration for Jay-Z's business acumen, even if he disagrees with the path that Jay-Z chose. Jay-Z, on the other hand, has remained focused on his own ventures, but his legacy is forever linked to his time with Dame Dash and the empire they built together. Their story is one of ambition, friendship, betrayal, and ultimately, the cost of success. It's a reminder that in the high-stakes world of hip-hop, loyalty is often tested, and the pursuit of power and wealth can fracture even the strongest of bonds. The tale of Dame Dash and Jay-Z serves as a cautionary tale about the complexities of business partnerships, the tension between independence and corporate interests, and the personal sacrifices that come with fame and fortune. The rise of Roc-A-Fella Records, Dame Dash, and Jay-Z's shared vision. In the late 1990s, two ambitious figures from the streets of New York, Damon Dash and Jay-Z, forged an empire that would come to define the hip-hop industry's rise to global dominance. Together, they co-founded Roc-A-Fella Records, a label that would eventually become synonymous with the culture of hip-hop and a platform for artistic innovation. Their early partnership was marked by shared hustle and relentless ambition, each man playing to his strengths to propel their brand forward. Dame Dash, with his sharp entrepreneurial mindset, and Jay-Z, with his lyrical genius and innate understanding of the business of music, formed a perfect duo. The vision was clear: to break free from the traditional corporate constraints of the music industry and create a platform where they could not only succeed, but redefine the game. Their success wasn't just built on talent, it was crafted through strategic moves, fierce determination, and a deep understanding of the cultural significance they could create. While Jay-Z focused on his musical career, delivering some of the most iconic albums in hip-hop history, Dash worked tirelessly behind the scenes, creating opportunities for both of them to expand their reach and influence. It wasn't long before they realized that their empire could extend far beyond music and into other lucrative ventures, notably fashion. The birth of Roc-A-Wear, a new era in hip-hop fashion. In the early 2000s, as Roc-A-Fella Records continued to grow in prominence, Dame Dash and Jay-Z turned their attention to the burgeoning hip-hop fashion scene. At the time, the streets of New York, along with the broader hip-hop culture, were becoming major trendsetters, with brands like FUBU and Sean John becoming staples in the wardrobes of fans and celebrities alike. Dash, always ahead of the curve, recognized that hip-hop needed its own clothing line to reflect its culture. He drew inspiration from the success of Russell Simmons' Fat Farm, but he envisioned something bigger. This was more than just clothing. It was a chance to create a lifestyle brand that embodied the entrepreneurial spirit and success that both he and Jay-Z had achieved. Launched in 1999, Roc-A-Wear quickly became a symbol of hip-hop's influence on mainstream culture. The line was designed to appeal to the streetwear aesthetic, yet it also catered to a broader audience, thanks to Jay-Z's global fame. With Dame Dash's sharp business sense and Jay-Z's cultural cachet, the brand took off. It became a staple of urban fashion, worn by everyone from A-list celebrities to everyday consumers. The success of Roc-A-Wear was a testament to their ability to take their cultural influence and turn it into a multi-million-dollar business. But Dash's ambitions didn't stop there. He also began exploring other business opportunities, from film production to marketing ventures. His influence extended beyond music, and he started positioning himself as a mogul in his own right. However, as Jay-Z's star continued to rise, the gap between their ambitions began to widen. Tensions grow. Jay-Z's shift towards corporate success. While Roc-A-Wear flourished, the relationship between Dame Dash and Jay-Z began to experience growing pains. As the new millennium progressed, Jay-Z's personal and professional aspirations began to shift. While Dash remained focused on maintaining an independent empire, Jay-Z began to gravitate toward the corporate world, His desire for greater control, both artistically and financially, led him to take on more significant business ventures. In 2004, Jay-Z's decision to align himself with Def Jam Recordings marked a turning point in their partnership. He took on the role of president of the label, a move that allowed him to exert greater influence over the music industry and the broader entertainment landscape. For Dame Dash, this was a betrayal. He had always prided himself on their independence, on building something outside the traditional corporate structures. To him, Jay-Z's move to Def Jam represented a willingness to compromise and work within a system that he had always sought to challenge. Dash, who had been instrumental in launching Jay-Z's career, felt sidelined by this new direction. While Jay-Z was becoming more entrenched in the corporate side of the industry, Dash continued to push for greater autonomy. He believed that the future of hip-hop and their partnership was in staying independent and carving out a new lane for themselves. The contrasting visions for their future became more apparent as Jay-Z's role at Def Jam expanded and Dame Dash's influence at Roc-A-Fella began to wane. The breakup, business deals, jealousy, and missed opportunities. The final straw for Dame Dash came when Jay-Z allegedly interfered with a key business deal. In 2003, Dash was negotiating a lucrative sale of Roc-A-Wear to the apparel giant Tommy Hilfiger for a sum that could have been worth upwards of $450 million. Just as the deal was about to be signed, Jay-Z made a public announcement that he was no longer affiliated with Roc-A-Wear, signaling that he would be launching a new clothing line under his own name. This move, Dash believed, was an intentional effort to devalue Roc-A-Wear and undermine his business. For Dash, this was a direct betrayal. He saw it as an attempt by Jay-Z to assert control and sabotage his financial interests. The timing was particularly infuriating. Dash had worked hard to build Roc-A-Wear into a global brand. And just as the deal was about to be finalized, Jay-Z's announcement threatened to collapse the entire venture. Dash would later claim that Jay-Z's actions cost him millions of dollars, and that they symbolized the growing rift between their priorities and values. It wasn't just Roc-A-Wear that was affected. As Jay-Z's focus shifted toward corporate partnerships and high-profile business deals, Dash felt increasingly left out. He had always believed that their partnership was about more than just money. It was about building something together. But Jay-Z's willingness to work with the big corporations and take on roles like the president of Def Jam was a stark contrast to Dash's desire to remain independent. To Dash, Jay-Z was sacrificing the very spirit of entrepreneurship that had made them successful in the first place. Despite the mounting tension, Dame Dash continued to press forward, launching other business ventures, including film production and marketing campaigns. But with each passing year, it became clearer that the partnership between Dash and Jay-Z was no longer sustainable. The fallout, the end of an era. The professional rift between Dash and Jay-Z reached its breaking point in the mid-2000s. While Dash continued to promote independence, Jay-Z increasingly embraced the corporate world. The two men, once brothers in arms, now found themselves on opposite sides of the hip-hop business. In 2004, Jay-Z made his exit from Roc-A-Fella Records, marking the official end of their partnership. For Dame Dash, this was a gut punch. It wasn't just a business decision, it was a personal betrayal. Dash had built Roc-A-Fella from the ground up, and to see Jay-Z leave the label and take on a corporate role at Def Jam felt like the ultimate betrayal of their shared vision. For Jay-Z, however, it was a necessary step toward solidifying his status as a global mogul. After Jay-Z's departure, Dame Dash's empire began to crumble. The breakup left him with fewer resources and less influence in the industry. His attempts to maintain control over the projects they had started together were constantly undermined by Jay-Z's growing empire. The fallout from their split was not just a personal blow, but a professional one as well. While Jay-Z thrived in the corporate world, Dash struggled to maintain relevance in the rapidly changing music business. In the years that followed, Dash would reflect on the end of his partnership with Jay-Z, often expressing his disappointment with the way things had turned out. He felt that Jay-Z had sold out, abandoning the very principles that had made their partnership successful. For Dash, the ultimate lesson of their fallout was a reminder that in the cutthroat world of business, loyalty and integrity could be sacrificed in the pursuit of greater wealth and influence. Business ventures beyond music. The expansion of Roc-A-Fella, the success of Roc-A-Ware, opened up even more business opportunities for Dash and Jay-Z. In the early 2000s, they began to branch out into other ventures, most notably the film industry. Dash, who had a strong desire to expand Roc-A-Fella's reach beyond music, established his own film production company. The company was responsible for producing films like State Property, 2002, which featured Jay-Z's Roc-A-Fella Records artists and integrated the Roc-A-Ware brand into the movie's wardrobe. The film's success helped solidify Dash's reputation as a mogul, and Jay-Z's involvement lent additional star power to the project. The connection between music and fashion became even more evident when Roc-A-Ware signed a partnership with Midway Games in 2002 to design clothing for the character Afro Thunder from the popular video game Ready to Rumble. This collaboration was a bold move, demonstrating how Roc-A-Fella was increasingly looking to leverage its music and cultural capital to gain a foothold in various industries. Despite these successes, however, cracks were beginning to form in the foundation of their partnership. As the business grew, so did the tensions between Jay-Z and Dame Dash. Jay-Z's ambitions were beginning to evolve in a different direction than Dash's. Jay-Z was growing increasingly interested in mainstream success, corporate partnerships, and strategic career moves that would help him position himself as a larger-than-life business mogul. Dame Dash, on the other hand, was more committed to maintaining the independence and creative control that had defined their early days together. The strained relationship, Jay-Z's corporate ambitions versus Dame Dash's independence. As the 2000s progressed, Jay-Z's career trajectory began to shift in ways that Dame Dash found increasingly difficult to accept. Jay-Z had always been a shrewd businessman, but as he grew in stature, he began to seek opportunities that would elevate him even further into the corporate world. In 2004, Jay-Z was offered the role of president of Def Jam Recordings, a position that came with a lucrative $30 million contract. This move was seen as a natural progression for Jay-Z, who had long been considered one of the most influential artists in the music industry. It was a chance to expand his reach beyond the creative realm of hip-hop into the corporate boardrooms that had long eluded him. For Dash, this decision was a betrayal. He had always prided himself on his independence and saw Jay-Z's move as an abandonment of their shared vision. Dash's criticisms of Jay-Z's corporate mentality were well known, and he believed that Jay-Z was prioritizing business over loyalty. He felt that Jay-Z's decision to work with certain figures, such as R. Kelly, despite the controversial allegations surrounding him, demonstrated a willingness to sacrifice principles for financial gain. The tension reached a boiling point when Jay-Z allegedly interfered with a major Roc-A-Ware deal. According to Dash, Jay-Z's actions cost him millions and devalued the company. This moment marked the beginning of the end for their partnership. Dash, who had been heavily invested in maintaining the integrity of their businesses, could not reconcile with Jay-Z's shifting priorities. The final break: betrayal and personal fallout. The relationship between Jay-Z and Dame Dash reached its breaking point in 2004 when Dash learned that he was being excluded from key business decisions. The catalyst for the fallout came when Dash discovered that Jay-Z was involved in a meeting at Def Jam regarding the future of Roc-A-Fella and other Roc-A-Fella ventures, but he was not invited. Feeling slighted and betrayed, Dash stormed into the Def Jam offices, demanding to be included in all decisions that impacted their shared empire. His anger and frustration were palpable, as he made his feelings known to everyone present in the room. This incident encapsulated the growing rift between the two men. What had once been a partnership built on mutual respect and shared vision had devolved into a bitter conflict over control, loyalty, and personal gain. The tension between their differing business philosophies was irreparable. While Jay-Z was positioning himself as a corporate executive, Dash was holding on to his roots as an independent mogul who would not bow to the traditional structures of the music industry. Their inability to reconcile these differences ultimately led to the dissolution of their business relationship. One of the most poignant moments in their fallout was Dash's refusal to sell his share of Roc-A-Fella, even when the company was on the verge of a multi-million-dollar deal. To Dash, this was not just a business decision. It was a statement of independence and defiance against Jay-Z's corporate ambitions. In his eyes, Jay-Z's actions had devalued the company, and Dash was unwilling to walk away from what he had helped build. Jay-Z's career after Roc-A-Fella. The rise of a business mogul. Following the dissolution of his partnership with Dame Dash, Jay-Z's career continued to soar. He solidified his position as one of the most successful and influential figures in the music industry, leveraging his business acumen and cultural capital to expand his empire. His move to Def Jam, his ownership stake in the Brooklyn Nets, and his ventures in the tech industry all played a role in solidifying his reputation as a mogul. Despite the success, however, Jay-Z's relationship with Dash continued to linger in the background. While both men moved on to new endeavors, the bitter breakup left scars that would never fully heal. Dash's critique of Jay-Z as someone who sacrificed loyalty for financial gain persisted, and he often spoke out about the personal and professional betrayals he felt at the hands of his former partner. Personal scandals and public scrutiny. In recent years, Jay-Z has faced renewed public scrutiny, particularly regarding allegations of paternity involving a son named Rymir Satterthwaite. The legal battle, which has dragged on for years, has intensified public interest in Jay-Z's personal life. While Jay-Z has largely remained silent on the matter, Dash has been vocal in his criticism, accusing Jay-Z of trying to avoid responsibility and questioning his integrity. For Dash, this renewed controversy serves as a reminder of the deeper flaws he sees in Jay-Z's character. While Jay-Z's career continues to thrive, Dash believes that the public's perception of him is starting to shift. He points to the way Jay-Z has been able to maintain a largely untouchable reputation for much of his career, despite his questionable business and personal choices. However, as Dash observes, the scrutiny surrounding Jay-Z has grown, and it may be only a matter of time before the cracks in his carefully curated image become too significant to ignore. The Legacy of Roc-A-Fella, a tale of ambition, betrayal, and diverging paths. The story of Jay-Z and Dame Dash's partnership is one of ambition, betrayal, and diverging paths. Together, they created one of the most influential record labels in hip-hop history, revolutionizing the music industry and reshaping the cultural landscape. However, their personal and professional differences ultimately tore them apart, and their split marked a turning point in both of their careers. As Dash reflects on the past, he acknowledges the immense impact they had on the industry. Despite their falling out, Dash expresses a sense of pride in what they accomplished, knowing that they built something that will be remembered for generations to come. For him, the legacy of Roc-A-Fella is more than just the music. It's about the empire they built and the mark they left on hip-hop culture. While Jay-Z continues to thrive as a global business mogul, Dame Dash remains an independent force in the industry, still seeking to carve out his own path. Their relationship may be fractured, but the influence they had on each other and on the culture at large remains undeniable. Their story is a testament to the complexities of ambition, loyalty, and the price of success.